Welcome to another Sandia Mountain Natural History Center quick trip. You've heard me say it many times before, but probably the most important thing that you can take with you on your excursions out into the woods is a map and a compass. You do not want to get lost. That's when real problems start to arise. But today's video is going to be in the unfortunate case that you do forget a map and a compass, and what you can do to help use your surroundings and the signals that nature gives us to find your directions. Let's go ahead and get started. Snow can be a great indicator of direction for you if you catch it at the right time. So for example, here on this north-facing slope, we still have remnants of snow left over from a storm the other day. But if we pan across over here to the south-facing slope that gets a lot more sun, we don't have that snow anymore. So snow on a hill or behind a tree can be a good indicator of north. I'm sure many of us have heard the old adage that moss always grows on the north side of a tree or a rock or wherever it may be. And often that's the case. But the thing you have to remember is that moss likes to grow where it's cool and moist. It might be cool and moist in the bottom of a canyon. It might be cool and moist in other shaded areas. So it's not always going to grow on the north side of a rock or tree. What we really have to consider is the moss along with other factors. For example, we have moss, so maybe that's north. Coupled with the snow. Snow remains longer on the north side of slopes. Coupled with some of the trees that we have, like here in New Mexico, these oaks are going to like a little bit more moisture. Another thing telling us that this is the north slope. So you can't rely on any one thing. You have to combine those things together and then make your determination which way is north. This green stuff on the tree often gets mistaken for moss, and it is not actually moss, it is lichen. And if you're trying to find a direction, that is a very critical distinction to make. Although lichen often will grow in moist places as well. But one of the ways that I've heard that you could use lichen to help with your direction is that the lichen that grows on south and east facing slopes that get much more sun, is often much brighter in color because it's getting more energy and all from the sun, so it can create more color. So lichen, although I wouldn't rely on that one very much, lichen can help you determine direction. These are juniper berries growing on this one seed juniper, and they can actually possibly help us figure out direction. I would be very dubious of this one, but it has been said that more berries and seeds will grow on south-facing slopes because they're getting more sun. It's also been said that the fruit will be sweeter because they're getting more sun and they're producing more glucose. So if you want to rely on your sense of taste to help you get direction, I guess this could be a possible way. The sun is going to be one of our most obvious ways that we're going to be able to navigate. I showed this in a previous video, but I thought it would bear repeating. So one way to find direction using the sun is you're going to put a stick in the ground, and then you're going to mark the end of where the shadow is. Then that's going to be our westernmost point, is the end of the shadow. Now we're going to wait a few minutes for the shadow to move, and then we'll be able to find our east-west line. The sun has really decided that it doesn't want to cooperate here, but if you see, this is our westernmost point. And as the sun moved across, there's our easternmost point. And we have an east-west line. And we can see, using our compass, we can see that that is generally right. That is north, south, east, and west. So if you want to see a little bit better demonstration of this and how it worked, check out our fun with knives or playing with knives video, and you'll see a maybe a little bit clearer demonstration. The sun keeps going in and out on me. If you're familiar with the prevailing winds in your area, obviously on a windy day you can kind of judge direction by which way the wind is blowing. If it's a dead calm day like today, you might still be able to see evidence of those winds in trees like this. If you notice, all those trees or all those limbs on this tree are bent one direction. That's evidence of the prevailing winds. It's called flagging. You might be able to judge, based on your knowledge of the prevailing winds, which direction that is. Sometimes we just got to be smart about where we're at. Very seldom are you going to start hiking in a place where you have no idea where you started. So before your hike, stop, look around, and recognize some landmarks. This ridge behind me is the ridge of the Sandia Mountains. I know that that ridge is going to be to the west. So if I know that's to the west, I know that Highway 14 is going to be to my east. I know that the village of Taharis is going to be to my south. And I know that Sandia Park and Cedar Crest are going to be to my north. These are things that will help navigate me if somehow I get turned around or get lost. This is a navigational aid that I would certainly not risk my life on because there can be a lot more factors. But if we look closely at this tree, you'll notice that the branches on the right-hand side are longer and stretched out. Branches on the left-hand side are shorter and poking up. It is sometimes, again, don't rely on this one too much. Kind of put this one together with other factors you see around one. But it is sometimes true that branches on the south side of a tree will grow out and straighter, and trees on the north side will grow shorter and up. And that all has to do with the rotation of the sun. Actually, I guess the rotation of the earth, but you get what I mean. This one might be difficult to see on camera, but another quick and easy way of figuring out north and south, or at least getting a general idea, is by looking at the slopes. Here we have a slope with not many trees on it. And if we move over here, we have a slope with a lot more trees on it. So the one with the more trees is going to be the north-facing slope. When you're in close, this might be harder to see, but if you can see this from a distance, it might be a better indicator of direction. So here we have a tree stump, and sometimes these tree stumps can help us. So if we look right here is the heartwood. This is the first wood that started to grow. And if we look, the space between here and here is less than the space between here and here. Oftentimes, that will indicate which way south is. The thicker the area heads south. All right? So that can be an indicator, although in this case, it is not. That is not actually south. So that just goes to show you that you need to put a bunch of these things together and make your best hypothesis about what direction you're facing or traveling. So if you're out at night and you're trying to navigate, things are going to be much more difficult because a lot of things that we talked about earlier are not going to be easy for you. You're not going to be able to see as well. You're not going to be able to have the sun to navigate. You're not going to be able to see your landmarks. A lot of different things are going to change. But there are two pretty good tried and true methods to help you find direction. One is the moon. If you have a crescent moon, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line between the two crescents, and that line going down is going to point to south. So that's one way to find south. The other is the North Star. Now, a lot of people always think that the North Star is going to be really easy to find because it's the brightest star in the sky, but that is not true. It actually ranks down in the 40s of brightness. So you do have to know a little bit about Polaris or the North Star to find it. But the easiest way is to find the Big Dipper. Here we connect these stars. We see the Big Dipper. And these last two stars, if we draw a straight line and go about 5 times this distance, we will find the North Star. And the reason why the North Star is always to the north is it is right on top, right over the North Pole. So the Earth is spinning pretty much right around an axis where the North Star is. So we always find a North Star off of the Big Dipper. And this will work no matter where in the sky the Big Dipper is. The outer edge of the dipper will point to the North Star.
Merrick and Doobie, the pointer stars of the Big Dipper, will always point to the North Star no matter the time of the year.
So hopefully you won't be going out into the woods without a map and compass. But if you do, I hope you learned a few tips today on how to use nature to navigate. Because, oh, you know what? We forgot one of the most important ones. Animals can help us navigate, and they help us do that by watching them. Especially migratory birds like those geese that we just heard. They're going to be flying north and south. So that's a good indicator. Depending on the time of the year, you're going to know which way to go. And here in New Mexico, they're following the river, which also flows north and south, which is a good kind of guardrail for navigation if you're near a river. But anyway, I hope you take some of these tips, go out in the woods, play around with them, have fun, but always rely on your map and compass. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next video.